This is Daniela Camboni for Kitco News, continuing with our coverage from the Denver Gold Forum. Joining me now is Michael Jones. He's the CEO for Platinum Group Metals. Thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure.
How's the Denver Gold Forum for you so far?
It's been very busy. There's a lot of institutional investors here. Obviously, precious metals interest rising, and a lot of people excited about it.
Absolutely. So let's talk PGMs.
Sure.
I know you divide your time between Vancouver and South Africa, so you're really the best person to ask about this, this too. What's the real situation like in South Africa now in regards to the PGM story, Michael?
Well, from our perspective, we're operating underground now. We're driving our underground declines. We've got about 320 people on site, and we haven't missed a blast, and we continue to develop and operate very well. Obviously, there's some very big challenges in the industry, which everybody's heard about, some very tragic situations, and we think that long term, there certainly is going to be cost pressure. I think a lot of the mining is getting very deep. It's confined space. It's within a 1 meter stope typically, and there's some severe labor pressures on costs, and I think that's going to continue. I think everybody acknowledges that. I think long-term, South Africa has been a great producer over decades and will continue to be, but increased costs. And that's going to affect deep operations. Lower grade operations are already starting to close. And I think that's just going to tighten an already tight market for both platinum and palladium.
So you mentioned deep pit mining. That's obviously one of the challenges with mining in South Africa. What are some other challenges you're dealing with right now?
Well, certainly South Africa is a great mining country, so from the basic logistics, power, water, services, mining equipment, that's all pretty available. South Africa had a power crisis a number of years ago. Eskom's taken a lot of steps to fix that, and we're connected to the grid and fully supplied with power. So I don't see really big problems in power coming forward. 2015, 2017, there's major power stations that'll be online. So I don't think that's a big challenge, but definitely labor and cost is going to be the subject of conversation for quite a while.
Well, last time we had that huge power shortage in South Africa, we saw rhodium hit $10,000 an ounce. So you're saying that might not happen again?
I don't see big issues with power. As I said, the labor question is the big one, and what's going to happen is the market's probably going to get smaller. You've heard of peak oil.
Right.
Maybe we've hit peak platinum. That actually the market is going to be smaller, and it's that lower quartile cost folks that are going to really make the money. The high cost guys are probably going to be gone. Some of the deeper operations aren't going to get sustaining capital, and that's going to tighten a market. As you know, platinum and palladium about 14 million ounces a year versus the gold market at 80 million ounces, and it's essential commodity, of course. It's not really optional. Some people would say palladium jewelry isn't even optional, but I think it's going to be a very tight market and an industrial demand story.
Right. So how much of it is really correlated to the car story?
In platinum, it's about 30%, and in palladium, of course, it's higher, about 65, 67%. So, and of course, car sales are doing very well. Notwithstanding all the rhetoric around the world about economic conditions, car sales are continuing to advance, particularly here in the United States. And Asia, India, cars are just flying off the shelves. So, there's a lot of people projecting 100 million vehicles a year by 2015, 2016. Quite frankly, we don't have the metal for that right now.
Wow.
So I see a very tight market going forward, and that's why our deposits were so excited, because that's right where we hit production.
Right, we're obviously catalytic converters dependent on platinum and palladium, but see, the car story is interesting because I hear different points of view there in terms of, are the sales really there? But you're saying yes, they are.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, certainly the U.S. sales have done well. In Europe, that's primarily a diesel story, and diesel sales have been soft. But again, I'm optimistic that Europe will continue to advance going forward. Certainly well connected to the Asian market in terms of industrial demand, and these metals, you just can't find them like you can gold. There's lots of gold deposits around the world, but there's very little PGMs.
Okay, let's talk about another South African story, Lonmin. What were your thoughts on that?
Obviously, it's a very tragic set of events. The police took the steps that they took, and it's really left the boundaries of a mine and become a police matter. It's very unfortunate. I'm optimistic that things will settle down and get back to normal.
All right, so to sum it all up for us, Michael, the PGM story, what should we really be paying attention to right now?
Well, I think our story actually is very exciting, that we've got high-grade deposits in that lower quartile of cost, and we've got a brand new discovery that's a new piece of the Bushveld that's actually thick and able to be accessed mechanized. And I personally think that's going to be the story over the next 5 and 10 years, is finding thicker deposits that have smaller labor but skilled labor accessing mechanized, and that's part of our story, why we're so excited.
So when will the production start there?
Our Western Bushveld joint venture is targeted for 2014, and we're just at the exploration stage. stage. So we're probably 4 or 5 years out, but that could be a very good time in the market.
But how many ounces of platinum or palladium do you think you're sitting on there?
Well, we've announced an initial resource just the day before yesterday, again thick, and 6.6 million ounces is the initial resource, and that's just on the first 2 kilometers of what we think is a 40-kilometer trend. So in the scale of PGMs, that's very big.
Right,
and our Western Bushveld joint venture has 8 million ounces of resources and about 5 million ounces of reserves. So, even though we're a small company, we've got pretty big reserves.
So I know most mining CEOs are very bullish on their metal, but I still have to ask you, what's your projection for platinum and palladium?
No, I won't put a pin in the price. I can't do that. But I think that the current price is actually not making money for the big producers. And obviously, anytime you have that situation, it's got to change. And I certainly see it changing in the next 24 months.
Michael, thank you so much for your thoughts today.
My pleasure.
And thanks for watching our coverage from the Denver Gold Forum. We'll have more for you on Kitco.com. For Kitco News, I'm Daniela Cambone.